everybody, I am Jarrett Ross, the Genie Vlogger, and welcome back to another Professional Genealogist Reacts. On today's video, I will be reacting to I Took a DNA Test, Here's What I Found Out by Randy. Now this is a channel I'm kind of familiar with, but more in the sense that I am familiar with his Pokemon card channel. So if you didn't realize, I'm a bit of a Pokemon fan. My merch right there, that's one of my shirt designs. You can get it as stickers and stuff too. So if you want merch and it's Pokemon Genealogy themed merch, definitely check out my merch store. Helps me out too. But because I'm into Pokemon, I've seen a lot of Pokemon channels, and Randy's is one of them. I think it's called Randolph Pokemon. As far as I know, I think he's British. I don't know if maybe he has some sort of other ancestry, but I'm pretty sure he lives in England. But if he is British, the main thing is that he's gonna have a typical Northwestern European mixture. So in terms of admixture, we're gonna expect England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, you know, the British Isles. Then we'll also expect French, German, and Scandinavian as well. That's kind of the typical Northwestern European mixture. Also not too uncommon for a little bit of Iberian and Basque to kind of get in there as well, and sometimes a little bit of Southern European too. But hopefully he talks about what his actual ancestry is, and then we'll have a better idea of what it'll be. So we'll just leave it at that, and let's jump into the video.
One thing that I've always wanted to do on YouTube is to find out where I'm from. I always see people do these videos where they find out that they're obviously British by like 80%, but then like 3% they're from, I don't know, some place you've never even heard of. So today we're going to be doing a DNA test kit. This video is not sponsored at all. It's just something fun that I wanted to do. What I know is that I was born in England. I was born in Mansfield, Kingsmill Hospital. Shout out to the Nottinghamshire, Derbyshire area. My dad's Irish. She was born in Belfast. My mum is born in England as well, but her side of the family, I believe, is from Belgium. Well, that's what we know.
Now, before we keep going too much further, I noticed he has an Ancestry kit, and he does know a decent breakdown of his family history. And with Ancestry, they break down Northwestern European and British Isles pretty well. Still get a lot of those variations of other things in there. So like if he doesn't know any Scandinavian, may not be surprising if he still gets some. But knowing that he has one side from Ireland and then he knows with the British side, we may actually see some of these breakdowns in the admixture. So we may see a good amount that's specifically Irish, and possibly even the communities pinpointing the places he's talking about.
We always do family trees, and he spent a lot of time finding out our family. So let's see if this matches up with what he thought. Sealed shut. Now I've got to mail this, and then I'll be back with the results. Let's go.
Yeah, the results are now in.
Okay.
And I'm revealing it silent here, live on the WhatsApp podcast. It says, hello, Andrew. So 56%.
It's got to be English.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Right, 56%. Yeah. Okay. England and Northwestern Europe. West and South Yorkshire and Derbyshire. Wow.
Okay.
From Derbyshire.
Okay.
The Midlands, East Midlands and the Potteries, East Midlands, 15%.
Oh.
I hope they show the actual breakdown on camera, because when they read it, it's so much harder to analyze the whole thing. Granted, a lot of people don't think to put it on the screen sometimes because they just think about the singular numbers and not analyzing the whole thing together, which is the proper way to analyze an admixture.
That doesn't include Irish?
No.
As in, it's not 50% Irish?
No.
15% Scandinavian.
Yeah. Well, are we all that? We're Vikings and that. We all are.
A lot of people get that, I think.
Yeah, I'm so boring, man.
I think that's literally your...
Yeah, Sweden and Denmark.
Yeah.
12%. This is weird. I might have to ask my dad some serious questions here. Scotland.
Okay.
But my dad's literally Irish.
The thing is that with the Northwestern European mixture, this is kind of typical where even if you have one parent where as far as you know, they just come from Ireland, they still may not get fully Irish, and they may get even a bigger hodgepodge, because if you really don't know your family tree that far back, honestly, you know, a couple hundred years, 6 generations, you're looking at people that, you know, there's like 16 of your second great grandparents, 32 of your third great grandparents were all living in the 1800s. Do you know all of their stories? Because if one of them, like if one of your second great grandparents is something that you didn't expect, so let's say Scottish, well, one second great grandparent is equivalent of like 6.2 something percent or whatever. So getting these readings is not too wild, especially if he doesn't know his family ancestry super well. Granted, he did mention somebody building family trees and knowing this stuff, so maybe we'll get a good comparison at some point of that information and what he's got.
Like, he literally was born in Ireland. His granddad is Irish.
Okay.
No, his dad's Irish. My granddad's Irish.
So if it's his granddad that's Irish, that's 25%. And that's assuming the granddad is truly fully Irish, because then similar situation, if the granddad is culturally Irish, but then you look at his family tree and really, oh, well, it's only, 50% Irish, whatever, then for him, that's going to equate to 12 something percent, because that means that it's a great grandparent who would have been fully Irish and not necessarily his grandfather, or whatever else may be going on, especially because a lot of people who live in Ireland may have a lot of ancestry from elsewhere in the British Isles.
Sure, he was born there. But is it like where they were born from? Because my dad's Irish.
I don't really know.
My granddad's Irish. I'm pretty sure his dad was Irish.
Yeah, I don't really know.
Like I said, my dad's driving back from the podcast, so I'll have a very stern conversation.
Okay.
10% Germanic Europe.
Okay. Interesting.
6% now Ireland, which makes sense.
Well, it doesn't.
Sorry, no.
You're more Scottish
sorry.
than you are Irish.
I didn't mean to say. Sorry, guys. Yeah, that makes no sense.
Yeah.
And then 1% Norway.
Yeah, I see that.
So I'm literally British, European, and yeah, that's it. I'm literally it.
You are literally like
British and European.
You're what I would expect.
I want some sort of like Panama, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Cuba. Oh man, if I had like 5% Cuban, I'd be just cigar everywhere. You know.
I feel like a lot of people are always wanting very exotic sort of stuff in there, because that is kind of a fun thing to think about, like some unknown ancestry that's just so different than what you know as yourself. But everything that he got, very standard of what we would expect. One thing I didn't mention before about the admixtures too is that his family still may be like largely living in Ireland for his father's side and having been there for hundreds and hundreds of years, but just because of the difficulty of the DNA and all of that, there's a lot of DNA that he may have that really is more Irish DNA in a sense, Irish DNA, because it's not Ireland itself, it's just the people that are doing the DNA testing that they've defined as the Irish group, and that's how they correlate it to it. It may just be that because of the way the DNA is shared with other populations living in England and Scotland and Germany and Scandinavia and all of that, that they call it something else, and it's not actually that. Basically, I'm a short story long, it could be a misread. A lot of this could be a misread, and Northwestern Europe is one that's notorious for having a hodgepodge of all of this stuff, and it kind of matching up to people's trees, but just vaguely. So these are all just estimations, not anything you should take to heart. The thing that really helps in terms of DNA in your family tree is using this with your DNA matches, which we still have a lot of video to go, so I'm crossing my fingers hoping maybe he actually talks about his DNA matches.
So in my DNA community, Scottish Lowlands, Northern England, and Northern Ireland. Cool. And
That's you right there, just that little bit.
Yeah, that's just me, man. What's good?
No spread.
This is like a boring bit now, but 1850 to 1875, that's where the transatlantic migration continues. So they moved from Norway to Derbyshire. You share the Yorkshire and East Midlands community with 17 of your DNA matches. Okay, I'll go for that later. Oh, cool. Right, is that it? No, like health risk. Oh, it tells you here. Your region's inherited from each parent. Ah.
Okay. So is your dad Scottish?
Well, it's parent 1, parent 2. I don't know which is which.
Oh, that's true.
It can't figure out which one's parent 1, parent 2. Like that would be absolutely amazing if they had that capabilities. Maybe that'll happen in the future. But the fact that they can even break down the possibility of what admixture is coming from parent 1 and parent 2 is a very difficult thing that took them years to roll out. This is what Ancestry calls their side view feature. But the thing with DNA that you have to think about is when they read your DNA is a whole bunch of base pairs, right? So everyone knows the ATCG, which is the nucleotides, and A pairs with T, C pairs with G. And so throughout your genome, your DNA, at each spot there's an A, T, C, or G, but technically there's 2, so there's a base pair. But they can't figure out which one came from mom and which one came from dad. They have to try to figure that out. This is what's known as phasing. And for a long time, they've had different auto-phasing sort of tools, but even once they're able to try to kind of decipher, okay, well, this is parent 1, this is parent 2, they're not going to know if that's maternal or paternal because nothing correlates amongst all of your autosomal DNA spots, the 22 chromosomes that you inherit, the 22 pairs of chromosomes. So just the fact that they can break down generally autophasing into parent 1 and parent 2 for which part of the admixture is coming from which parent, that's actually pretty amazing. And it just came out a few years ago, and when it came out, it was a big deal. So they're still tweaking it and all of that, but yeah.
So this is the graph. You guys can see the graph there, right? You see that, John?
Yep, that's
So
the
it's
side
like
view.
Green's England.
It's all green.
Just green, yeah. Green's England, and then the blue one's Sweden and Denmark, Scotland. Okay, interesting.
So they're assigning English to both parents. Now, one of the things with the parent 1, parent 2 is that on each chromosome, they'll know there's a parent 1 and parent 2, because when they're doing the admixture in general, they're trying to figure out what your DNA is. And to do that, it has to take your DNA segments and basically, the sequence of your DNA from one parent and correlate that to the population groups they have. So by looking at each one of those and then determining, okay, well, this seems to be a true segment that correlates to this population, that means that everything else must be from the other parent and it's its own segment, and then they can see if that correlates to something else as well. So with them, both parents getting England, I wouldn't be surprised if there are some chromosomes where they're reading both sides as autophased and sequenced to the English population group. So hopefully that makes sense, but basically I think it's pretty likely that he's going to get English on his father's side, even considering that he said that it's through his grandfather and that it's not his father who's fully Irish.
Interesting. Right, so that's very boring then. Waste of 8 weeks. No, not really, but
Kind of hoping, there'd be a little bit like dash of Nigeria.
Yeah, like Bez loved that, didn't he?
Yeah.
Ran with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just that communities, the Midlands, Yorkshire, wow, matches. Oh, wow, I've got some DNA matches.
Yes.
Oh, here we go.
No,
Look at the
bro,
DNA
I
matches.
can't show this.
Pocahontas.
No, bro, okay. I can't show you, bro.
You don't need to show us the names, but tell us how much you're matching these DNA matches, and especially if you recognize anybody as like, oh, my first cousin, oh, this person in here.
Bro. No, I can't.
I would be likely to.
It's no one, fuck off. It's no one you know, but hold on.
It was Joe Biden, wasn't it?
Mate, look at this map. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Let me. Bro.
Would you be...
There's a.
So when anybody tests, especially if you're coming from like a Northwestern European population group, you're going to have thousands of matches, and you're going to have matches all over the world. The thing is that it's also looking at a ton of matches who are really distant. And there are some matches that are on the more distant end, which could have the possibility of being a false positive, a false match. Now you have to get really into the weeds into your matches to find that. So basically finding people that are, like under 20 centimorgans total. Although there's still a lot of people who you are related to them and you only share a very small amount of DNA, and so they'll be on there. But literally when you look out to 6th, 7th, 8th cousins in your family tree, you have thousands, if not tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of relatives, and they're going to be living all over the world, especially if you're coming from a community that's known to have been all over the world, like England. He's going to have a map with everything, with tons of people covering it.
That's Australia.
It is.
That's good. I think that's just someone who DNA tested from Australia. My family tree is washed. Not even a bit.
Ratioed by great-great-great-granddad Hitler.
I love... Yeah, exactly. I love Sweden and Norway, by the way. I would celebrate that, but it's just like expected, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're
You're going to
all
have
from
that.
there, really, y'all. What was yours then? Just saying.
Yeah, mine was really dull. Yeah.
What's the point in life?
I had a decent amount of Scandinavian, I think.
More than mine.
I feel like maybe.
So I'm literally just English. But I'm actually
I was very English.
I'm quite impressed how accurate it was, though. Like, it's like the Midlands.
Yeah.
Also, it said Yorkshire a bit, so like you guys can't even call me Northern anymore because I'm back. It said East Midlands.
You've always said you're from the Midlands.
No, but you always go Northern.
We still say the Midlands is Northern.
It's not though. It's Midlands. Thanks for watching my video. Sorry, it was crap. 8 weeks just to find out you're from where you're from.
Okay, well, that was a little disappointing of a video. Part of it, I think, was that towards the end there, for one, I'm going to end up cutting out a lot of it because they were just talking about stuff that really had nothing or little to do with the DNA test, and especially stuff that I couldn't, nothing for me to comment on, really. If they had only been able to put up the images of the DNA results And also, you know, there's a lot of other stuff on Ancestry they could have looked at, but especially like looking more at the DNA matches and stuff. I'm always hoping for that. I think it would be really surprising to see his results through living DNA, because living DNA has the most nuanced results out for the British Isles. Basically, they break it down much more regionally. They really break down the percentages much more. And so you get a better idea. And I've heard from a lot of people that have done it who have Northwestern European ancestry. They've said that it's actually quite amazingly spot on. So I obviously can't do it because I'm Jewish and Living DNA doesn't even really have Jewish readings. I'm on Living DNA. I haven't found much use of it. Not really any very useful matches I've found there, and the admixture doesn't really give me much to work with anyway. Now, hopefully you enjoyed this reaction, and if you'd like to see more reactions like this, be sure to check out this one right here. Thank you to my Patreon patrons and YouTube members.